At first, the galaxy didn't care about Earth. We were a footnote, a small blue planet orbiting a middle-aged star in the arm of a forgotten spiral. When the Galactic Council discovered humanity, they didn't send diplomats or explorers. They sent surveyors and drones, cold machines that hovered through the clouds, scanned our cities, and filed a report no one really read. Primitive, divided, barely spacefaring. A resource-rich planet. Potential for subjugation, high. That was the line buried in the footnotes of some bureaucratic scroll passed around the bureaucrats of Kvarin 9, a planet known more for its intoxicating wines than its tactical genius. So the Council didn't prepare for war. They didn't think they'd need to. They sent a peaceful annexation fleet, dressed up in polished metal and glowing insignias. Ships the size of cities hovered over New York, Beijing, Delhi, Nairobi, and Sao Paulo. Transmission towers glowed. A signal was broadcast in every human language. You are now citizens of the Galactic Order. Resistance is non-productive. Compliance will be rewarded. That was the beginning. The fleet expected celebrations, gratefulness, perhaps some religious confusion. Instead, within 14 minutes, the United States launched 2 experimental railguns hidden deep in Arizona. China scrambled stealth drone swarms, and Russia activated an old AI protocol named Perun that had been locked away since the 2040s. The Galactic Order didn't expect resistance. They didn't expect 3 of their diplomatic ships to go down in fire before their peacekeeper boots ever touched soil. So they retaliated, and for 5 years, Earth bled. They called it the taming period, but no human ever used that name. To us, it was genocide. Entire cities were flattened. Nuclear counterstrikes were intercepted mid-air. Resistance cells were vaporized by clean beams of ionized hell. Humans were enslaved, tagged, and exported. And yet, we didn't break. Somewhere, between the ruins of Seoul and the mass graves outside Rio, humanity started learning. We stopped fighting like Earthlings. We started fighting like survivors. They'd underestimated one thing, our capacity to adapt when cornered. We learned how their ships functioned. We hacked their soft AIs using crude human logic loops that made no sense to them. We took apart their rifles and learned how to replicate them. We didn't try to match them, we got dirty. We cheated. We started pushing back. In the year 2119, an Earth-born resistance leader named Captain Malik Adisa, former Special Forces turned war criminal in the eyes of the Council, led Operation Dawnspike, the first successful mission to hijack a full galactic dreadnought-class ship. The ship was named Azakarian 8, and when Malik and his team stormed it, using a mixture of quantum disruptors and homemade EMP bombs, they sent a message the galaxy had never heard from Earth. This is our planet, and if you don't leave, we'll take yours too. That day things changed. The Council didn't panic yet. They thought it was a fluke, a blip. But then the Azakarian 8 turned its own weapons against the orbital command station above Mars. 600 Council officers gone in one blast. That wasn't a fluke. Then came the real shock. Humans were reproducing galactic tech 10 times faster than expected. Our reverse engineering wasn't supposed to be possible. But humans were combining alien tech with raw instinct, rage, emotion, things the Council had bred out of their own soldiers centuries ago. You see, the Council had forgotten something important. They ruled a galaxy of obedient, peaceful, intelligent species, beings who had evolved past aggression, past competition, past war. But humans, we had never stopped fighting each other, so when we finally had a common enemy, something terrifying happened. We unified. No more nations. No more borders. No more politics. Only one flag. Earth united. Only one goal. End the occupation. Then take the fight back to them. What came next wasn't resistance. It wasn't rebellion. It was revenge. The gloves came off, and the galaxy wasn't ready for what came after. Want Part 2? It's going to dive into Earth's brutal revenge campaign, where Malik Adisa leads humanity's first off-world invasion, and the galaxy starts to realize it's not dealing with another species. It's dealing with something they accidentally made angry. They called it the Silence of Torthon. It was a lush, heavily populated council planet, known for its blue forests and floating cities, untouched by war for over 700 galactic cycles. Its people were thinkers, artists, and scholars. Torthon had no standing army. It had never needed one, until Earth came knocking. Captain Malik Adisa didn't bring a fleet. He didn't send a warning. He didn't ask for negotiations. He brought Azakarian 8, now retrofitted with hacked human tech, and a strike team of 300 elite fighters, all volunteers. All survivors, all angry. They didn't land on Torthon, they dropped. From orbit in reinforced exopods, they smashed into the capital city like meteorites. Buildings collapsed on impact. No one had ever seen soldiers drop like that, not even the Council's oldest war races. And when the pods opened, hell came out. Malik's team moved like ghosts, no uniforms, no insignias, just grim faces and stolen alien weapons fused with Earth mods. Their armor was painted in crude blood-red streaks, a warning that translated across species. This wasn't a military raid, it was a message. They moved through the city methodically, disabling comm towers, data hubs, defense drones. But they didn't kill civilians, not unless they were armed, not unless they ran for an alert beacon. But the governor of Torthon made a mistake. He thought humans were still seeking peace. He broadcasted a surrender signal. Malik ignored it. He walked straight into the governor's tower, dragging 3 stunned Torthon security officers behind him. He tossed them at the governor's feet and said only 6 words. "We don't want your surrender, leave." The governor stammered, This is council territory. We have treaties. We have rights." Malik didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He just whispered, "So did we." Then he placed a small black box on the governor's desk and walked out without looking back. The box counted down for 10 seconds, then emitted a signal that shut down every council satellite orbiting Torthon. Then it played a looped recording across every screen on the planet. News terminals, entertainment hubs, teaching tablets, a video of Earth. Cities turned to ash. Children in cages, mass graves, and Malik's voice. "You let it happen. Now we make it stop." Then the screen cut to the Earth United symbol, a burning phoenix. When the Council's fleet arrived 4 days later, they found Torthon empty. No human presence, no destruction, no war crimes, just silence, and a giant burning message scorched into the planet's northern hemisphere. First warning. That was when the panic started. In high-security council chambers on Volcara Prime, the word human was now spoken with caution. Eyes darted. Generals looked uneasy, because in less than 2 cycles, Earth had gone from enslaved to offensive. It wasn't just Malik anymore. Other Earth leaders had risen. Admiral Ayumi Zhao in the asteroid belts, Commander Rafael Ortiz in the outer ring colonies, and Dr. Elira Grant, a cybernetic genius who built weapons Earth couldn't afford to imagine 10 years ago. Humanity was no longer playing defense. They were coordinating, attacking, winning. Small council worlds began shutting down ports when human ships approached. Treaties were quietly torn up. Member races started asking questions. Why are we still fighting? Them? Did they ever really start this war? What happens if we lose? The galaxy didn't understand something crucial about humans, something even Malik had once forgotten. Humans don't need hope to fight. They fight because of pain, because of loss, because someone has to, because revenge doesn't require a reason, just a trigger, and Earth had a whole solar system full of them. Nowhere was safe anymore. Human saboteurs had infiltrated council stations. Drones from Mars slipped through sensor grids. EMP storms followed Earthships like omens, and slowly the Council began losing worlds, not just battles, entire planets. And then came the day when an ancient species known as the Yavaren, Council founders, peacekeepers for millennia, made an emergency broadcast. "We believe it is time to consider terms with the humans." They never got the chance. That night, the Yavaren homeworld's moon cracked in half. No one claimed responsibility, but everyone knew who it was, because human broadcasts started again the next morning. "You taught us fear, now we teach it back." The council called an emergency assembly, something that hadn't happened in over 300 cycles. Representatives from over 400 species gathered on Draven 6, a neutral moon known for its vast diplomatic towers and psychic security fields. No weapons, no transmissions, just minds, fear, and far too many unanswered questions. The air was thick with unease. For the first time in recorded galactic history, no one felt superior. The humans had done that. On the central pillar of the chamber, the Supreme Counselor of Strategy, a being named Hakarn, who resembled a spined mantis bathed in violet light, clicked its mandibles and spoke in a tongue translated across 1,000 minds. We underestimated the Earth species. This was a failure of data, not force, someone hissed. Others murmured. Another voice, elderly and smooth, rose from a corner. They took Torthan without killing a single civilian. They shattered Yavarin's moon, without even being seen. They're not just stronger than we thought. They're smarter. That was the real terror. Humanity had moved beyond simple retaliation. They were now psychological strategists, masters of fear. They didn't need to destroy a planet to win. They only needed to make you think they might. It wasn't just war. It was a lesson. One every species was learning the hard way, because now humans had unleashed something worse than bombs. They called it Project Echo. The Council didn't even know it had been deployed until it was far too late. No ships had entered their space, no soldiers had landed, and yet entire planetary networks began shutting down. At first it looked like glitches, small ones, starports unable to open their gates, currency servers wiped clean, traffic lights reversing at critical moments, defense satellites pinging fake warnings, but within 2 weeks it became obvious. Every connected system on over a dozen Council worlds was under human control, and the humans never touched a terminal. Project Echo wasn't a virus. It wasn't even tech. It was a neurological pattern, a signal that activated dormant frequencies hidden in every piece of stolen human tech the Council had acquired during the occupation of Earth. You see, while the Council studied human biology and culture, humans studied their networks. And when humans were forced to surrender their tools, their code, their ships, they left backdoors. It was like hiding poison in honey. It took years to kick in, but once it did, the galaxy choked on it. Entire cities blinked offline. Drones stopped. Mid-air, food distribution halted. Life support stuttered. Panic swept through the population like wildfire. And worst of all, Project Echo didn't kill anyone directly. It just made everyone remember. Humans had mastered emotional warfare. Every dark screen, every collapsed building, every blacked-out city now played audio messages on loop. Children crying, emergency, sirens, Earth cities under siege, human voices begging, dying, screaming. The same voices the Council once ignored. Now they were everywhere, and in the center of it all was one name, Malik Adisa. He wasn't just a soldier anymore. He was a myth, a shadow. The ghost who never blinked, the hammer that fell when you thought you were safe. Rumors spread like plasma fire. He'd survived 20 suicide missions. He didn't sleep. He once tortured a planetary governor using only questions. He could hijack a ship's AI just by speaking. None of it was true, and yet no one could prove it wasn't. The panic grew. Council allies started defecting quietly. Smaller races began offering safe passage to human ships. Some even opened their vaults and handed over star charts, intelligence, prototype weapons, just to be spared. It was no longer a war. It was surrender, disguised as diplomacy. But the humans didn't stop, not yet, because the ones who had suffered the most weren't interested in peace. Not until the Council felt the same helplessness Earth had once felt. So Earth United sent one more message, this time from the voice of Dr. Elira Grant, the cyberneticist. We know you want peace, but first, we want answers. Where are our missing? The children, the prisoners, the scientists you took, bring them to the border, or we'll come find them ourselves. Silence. Then Council worlds began receiving one photo per day. Each image was of a missing human, their eyes hollow, their faces bruised, marked, changed. They had been experimented on, turned into data points, test subjects, ghosts in laboratories, and now they were proof the Council had committed atrocities. And Earth had the receipts. Now the galaxy didn't just fear Earth, it feared Earth's memory. The planet was called Kirelion. It was a jewel of the Galactic Council, a technological hub, home to the High Tribunal, the architects of galactic law. From here, war criminals were judged, trade routes secured, and member planets punished for disorder. It had never known war. No fleets had ever breached its skies. No rebellion had touched its surface. It was the crown jewel of the Council's pride, a monument to order, though for Earth it was something else. The place where the genocide had been signed into law. It was on Kirelion that the Council voted to reduce Earth's population by 70%, fearing instability and contamination. It was there that the human genome was catalogued and classified as unfit for long-term integration. It was there that billions of lives were sealed into silence with the stroke of a pen. And now, Earth had returned, but not with one ship. With a fleet, 32 warships, some alien in design, some unmistakably human, all bristling with illegal tech and silent fury, pierced the skies above Kirelion like spear points through silk. They didn't send diplomats. They didn't respond to hails. They began dropping black pods. Each pod carried a shock team of 6, armor-clad, AI-assisted, emotionally unstable veterans of Earth's darkest years. Soldiers bred not in labs, but in refugee camps and underground bunkers. Survivors with nothing left to lose. Kirelion activated its planetary shields. Too late, because Earth scientists had been working on something since the fall of Sol, a weapon the Council called impossible, a singularity spike. Dr. Elira Grant had warned them. This is what happens when you force a species to innovate through grief. The spike was fired from orbit, a crystalline rod coated in unstable dark matter and bound with quantum core disruptors. It wasn't designed to explode. It was designed to puncture reality itself. The shield around Kirelion didn't fail. It folded. Space tore for less than a second, but that was enough. The pods passed through. Within 20 minutes, Earth soldiers had stormed the Hall of Judgment, bypassed its psychic barriers using emotion null dampeners, and stood face to face with the 11 tribunal elders who once called humans sub-primal. Captain Malik Adisa wasn't among them. He was elsewhere, coordinating from the lead ship. He knew the faces of these elders from old military dossiers. He knew they didn't fear death, so he gave them something worse. Each elder was handed a tablet. On it was a live feed. Humans freeing prisoners from forgotten labs, buried beneath council worlds, children, elders, scientists. Some had been missing for decades, presumed dead, and each one was surrounded by armed Earth soldiers, treating them like royalty. Medical staff, warm food. Homecoming Earth had promised and now delivered. You don't get to die, Malik's voice came through the tablet. You get to watch. They didn't kill the tribunal elders. Earth wasn't interested in mercy or martyrdom. They stripped them of implants, clothing, and protection, then broadcast their confessions live to the entire galaxy. For once, the High Tribunal had nothing to hide behind. The evidence was human, recorded, documented, and sent to every species the Council had ever silenced. Riots broke out on 17 Council planets. Within the week, the Council lost 38 allies. Some species switched sides. Others simply refused to fight. The Galactic Council began crumbling. And Earth didn't stop, because Kirelion was just the beginning. Now came the phase known only to Earth United's war room as the Fall Campaign. Earth fleets began, arriving at Council outposts without warning. They didn't always fire. Sometimes they simply hovered, displayed videos of Council atrocities, and left pamphlets on universal data links. You don't have to die for them. You can walk away. We were your slaves, now we're your neighbors. We remember what you did, but we'll forgive, if you leave. It wasn't peace. It was domination without destruction. They weren't trying to win hearts. They were trying to own minds. For the first time, alien races began speaking human languages, learning human history, telling their children bedtime stories about Earth, not as monsters or rebels, but as the species that rose from ruin and taught the galaxy what fear really meant. Even human culture, music, film, poetry began spreading like wildfire. A singer from Lagos uploaded a song titled We Remember Fire. Within a month it had been played in 4 quadrants, not because of its rhythm, but because of the final line. You thought you'd erased us. You only made us louder. The Galactic Council no longer existed. Its flag, a golden spiral of stars on a black field, was now just a forgotten symbol, torn from embassies, painted over on spaceports, and set on fire by the very species who once pledged allegiance to it. Dozens of worlds had seceded. Fleets had disbanded. Council leaders had fled to hidden sanctuaries scattered across uncharted systems, and through it all, Earth never claimed victory, never raised a banner of conquest. Because Earth wasn't looking to rule the stars. It was looking to make sure no one else did either. But then came the signal. A desperate transmission sent from an encrypted beacon deep in the crowd of expanse. Only 3 words. They're coming back. Not humans, not Council. Something older. Buried knowledge, long hidden by the Council, began to leak. Back before the Council's golden age, before they ruled by order, there were others. Civilizations that didn't care for diplomacy or unity. They didn't conquer. They consumed. They were called the Architects, an ancient, predatory race that vanished from the stars millennia ago, pushed into silence by the combined force of every intelligent species alive at the time. Not destroyed, just contained. But the war between Earth and the Council had weakened everything. Planetary defenses across the galaxy were fractured. Energy signatures spiked in forbidden zones. Something was moving. Earth intercepted the signals. First and Captain Malik Adisa knew they'd stirred the galaxy so hard something had finally woken up. He gathered Earth's new allied commanders, former enemies, ex-Council defectors, and free world leaders who had found something terrifying in humanity's mirror. They saw themselves. We can't win this next fight alone, Malik said, pacing the war table inside the bridge of Azakarian 8. But we don't have to. Admiral? Ayumi Zhao spoke next, fingers dancing across a glowing map. They'll come for everyone, Council, Earth, neutrals. Doesn't matter. These things don't judge. They erase. There were no more enemies in that room. Just survivors. And for the first time in galactic memory, every species listened when a human spoke. So Earth issued one final message to the galaxy. We came to settle a score. You made us fight. You taught us hate. But now, we face something. Worse than you ever were. And we'll stand between them and the rest of you if you stand beside us. This time the galaxy didn't hesitate, because they'd seen what humans could do with rage. Now they wondered what they could do with purpose. Over 100 ships gathered in the cold reach, forming a new fleet under Earth's direction. Alien. Engineers worked beside human hackers. Bioorganic tech fused with steel and sweat. Empathy met efficiency. Rage met resolve. And when the architects came, rippling through dark space like shadows with teeth, they didn't find prey. They found Awal Malik Adisa, standing at the helm, gave one final order: burn the sky. Let them know we remember. The battle lasted 6 days. Space itself tore, stars dimmed, but the line held. And when it was over, humanity stood covered in blood and ash, yet unbroken. The architects were pushed back, not destroyed, nothing. Ever that old truly dies. But they were reminded that something new now guarded the stars, something born in pain, forged in loss, something human. After the war, Malik disappeared. Some say he returned to Earth, to walk among the ruins and rebuild. Others believe he ventured into deep space, hunting the architects in silence, a shadow in the dark. But his legacy lived on, not in statues or titles, but in a single phrase, painted across the side of every Earth ship, whispered in every tongue across the stars: never again. The galaxy didn't just survive the humans, it was remade by them, and no one ever dared to put the gloves back on.